Hello again, as you know, I'm Eli the Computer Guy, and today we're going to be talking about building your own web proxy server. So web proxy servers are these great website server web apps where basically you can go to them and you can get to websites using the server that many times you can't get to normally. So if you're off in like a Middle Eastern country and you're trying to watch some video in the United States, it may be blocked, so you can go through a web proxy server and be able to watch the video in the United States. Or let's say you are in an office environment and you want to be able to listen to music or get to some other website and that is blocked, you can use a web proxy server. So these are incredibly useful things, and they're actually incredibly easy to set up too. All you need in order to make this work is you need the script itself that I will show you today. You can just download it for free from a few different options. You download that, you put that onto a web server, so a server that's actually connected to the internet. You have to have PHP, you have to have curl, you do a couple other things, and away you go. It's a really easy thing. So let's go over to the computer so I can kind of just show you what's going on with these web proxy servers, and you have a better idea kind of to start thinking about it in your head. So for this class today, I created this website called geekwebproxy.com. So this is my web proxy server. What I did, again, is I downloaded the web proxy script, I uploaded it to my dedicated server up on the internet, I created a domain name, I pointed that to the server, and that is how we get this. So essentially, when you think about setting up one of these web proxy servers, think of it like setting up a website. So if you were going to set up WordPress, you do all of that. You do all the normal things you would do to set up WordPress. Instead of installing WordPress, you would set up the script, if you get what I'm saying. There's actually not a lot to set up. So then when we go here, just to show you what's going on, if I go, and let's say I go to whatismyip.com, we can see that my IP here is 74.107.99.210. I'm in the Baltimore area. So servers and web services will think I'm in Baltimore, Maryland, and deal with me appropriately. Now, if I go to geekwebproxy.com and I do whatismyip.com here, we will see when it loads up in a second that it will show that I'm out of Scottsdale, Arizona. So this is where my dedicated server is. So it now registers me at 208.109.108.14. So therefore, again, this is where I'm saying, if you're in Saudi Arabia, if you're in Mozambique or something, you can use a web proxy server like this in order to get to websites that you want to get to. And the cool thing with building your own web proxy server is you don't have to worry about the person in the middle, right? You may think, well, Eli, I can just go out and use somebody else's web proxy server. But you don't know if they're logging you. You don't know if they're injecting crap into your system. You don't know what the hell is going on. With this, I'll show you in a second, you can see the entire script, so you literally know what's happening. So you can be in Saudi Arabia, you can buy a dedicated server, you can rent a dedicated server from GoDaddy or rent a VPS from somebody, set this up, and then you completely own it. You don't have to worry about it. Or you can set it up in your own house, or if you want to do something like that. So with this, again, you can see that there's some weird little formatting issues. So it's using these proxy servers is just something, you'll just have to keep in mind. Now, we can do things like we can go to CNN.com. And we can see that this will show up, and we'll get the little bar at the top. So we can see geekwebproxy.com is the URL that we're at, and then it shows CNN.com. Or we can go here, we can go to YouTube to viewvideos.com. And this will be able to pull up, and there we go. And then we can start looking at the videos and all that kind of stuff. Now, if you want to watch your videos, one of the things you do have to think about whenever using these proxy servers is a lot of these multimedia sites, these entertainment sites, block proxy servers from being able to see certain videos. So if you try to look at any video that's like professionally done, it may be blocked, but videos like mine, Eli the Computer Guy, Your Soldier Knows Best, or something like that, you should be able to view. And so this is what we get out of a web proxy server. Now, the script that I decided to use it's called PHP-proxy. So again, there's a few different options out there. Some are free, some cost money. This was an exceptionally simple one to deal with. So I just decided to go with this. You can go and basically, here's all the information you need. So a server with PHP 5.2 or later with the curl extension. So curl is a PHP library. Any if you deal with most dedicated servers and you set them up if you rent a dedicated server and you set it up as a web server, it should have curl included. But if not, you can go and you can just look at instructions for installing curl. But that is the only warning that I will give you with this, is that it's PHP with the curl library. If you don't have the curl library, it won't work right. Curl allows you to deal with HTTP and all of that other kind of stuff. But basically, you go here and you download it. Once you download it, you get this file. So it's just proxy.php, and this is literally the entire script. There's not files and folders and multi-layer of folders or any of this. That entire web proxy is this one single file. Now, the important thing to realize is in the beginning of this file, you actually have some configurations that you can play with, and it's important that you come in here and take a look and see if you want to mess around with them. Now, there's a couple of things here, blah, blah, blah. One of the things that I would take very seriously, though, is this particular configuration right here, remove script. So what this does is it strips out all JavaScript. So if you're thinking about ad block or any of that kind of stuff, if this is set to true, it removes all of that JavaScript. But do realize, if you start stripping out JavaScript from this level, it's gonna cause some problems looking at websites. You know what I'm saying? Like if every website you go to has a JavaScript stripped out of it and you have no ability to control that as the end user, that can cause you some problems. So I would set this to false, and then if the folks want to use AdBlock Plus or whatever to block the JavaScript thing, then God bless them. But I would say set this to false, but that is your deal. You can come down here, unique URLs. It talks about encrypting the URL. To replace the title on every page. So when we go here, if we go, we can see how this says Google. So this right here is the title of the page that says Google. That is what that configuration stands for. So it's set to Google, Mozilla, a couple of other configurations. Some of the cool things is that you can block IP addresses. So if you set up a web proxy server and you wanted to block people from being able to get to it, you could block the IP addresses, or you could come down here and you can actually block different websites. So if you wanted to create a web proxy server, but you didn't want them to go to YouTube, or you didn't want them to go to Facebook. Basically, if you uncomment this, so this is the comment here, if you uncomment this, then whatever you have in here will be blocked. So that's a good piece of functionality. Beyond that, you can scroll down and you can go in and you can play with a lot of stuff. Somewhere down, more near the bottom, is where you actually get some of the things you can play with for editing what the page looks like. So I think that's here. So like they have the footer thing, and basically what you can do is you can edit since you can get to the file, like all of this, what this says. So Geek Web Proxy, this is a beta test. Please do not use this for illegal purposes. That was all futzed with when I went in here and screwed around. You can do that. You can add things like I added a Google Analytics script just so I know how many people are using the site. All that kind of stuff. And that's really all you do. All you do then is you take this script, you make all the modifications that you want to make, you rename this to index.php, you upload this to whatever web server you want it on, and then away it goes. Then you have your very own web proxy server, and it really is cool, and it really is easy to set up. It really is. You download the file, you mess with a couple of configurations, you upload it, set it up like a normal website, and away you go. A couple of things that I will warn you on with this is do realize that these proxy servers do take a little bit of resources, right? So I would suggest you don't try to use like a shared hosting plan in order to run one of these things. Theoretically, I guess you could, but they're going to need more resources than that shared hosting plan. Because remember, what's happening in a proxy server is you go to the proxy server, you make the request from the proxy server. There's a proxy server that makes a request from wherever it's getting the information. That information gets pulled down to the proxy server. Then the proxy server sends that information to you. So that's a bit resource intensive. And also you need to think about the bandwidth, right? So now instead of you directly connecting to the internet, you're going through the web proxy server, and from the web proxy server, you're going to the website. So the information has to go from the website to the web proxy server to you, so it'll take at least twice as long, depending about the bandwidth. So, if you put this on a server that has really poor, piss poor bandwidth, it's going to be really, really, really slow. If you put it on a server that has a gigabit per second connection, it will be really fast. It all depends on these kind of things. But yeah, it's pretty good, pretty easy, pretty simple. The one thing that I will say, doing some research on this, I was going to show you guys how to do this with a proxy server called Glype, Glype. And what I'll tell you is the lesson that I learned about Glype is to stay the hell away from Glype, because their licensing is absolutely and utterly nasty, brutal. Glype's licensing is about the worst thing I've ever seen in my life, and so I would stay away from Glype. Again, whenever you're using any kind of these scripts or whatever, try to find the license, read the license, figure out what you're using, and then make sure you feel comfortable with it. When I looked at Glype's license, because you guys might think, hey, why don't I just use this Glype web proxy server? Because there is more functionality to it. I would prefer to use Glype, but once I looked at the licensing, it was nasty. It was brutal. It literally had a section in there that said if you violated the other sections, you agreed to pay $100,000 per breach of contract. So literally, there were like 5 sections. You were agreeing to literally pay up to $500,000 if you breach that contract, and that's. Again, I know you guys laugh at me when I talk about licensing, but that, you know what I'm saying? No. That you just don't want to go. You don't want to go anywhere near any kind of licensing like that. You get what I'm saying? But yeah, so that's it. That's really all there is to it. Again, make sure you have PHP installed. Make sure you have curl installed. Run the script. Away you go. That's it. It's a pretty good thing. SchoolyMitchell.com. If you are trying to find new internet or telephone service, or if you're trying to find better internet or telephone service, or if you're trying to find less expensive internet or telephone service, give Schooly Mitchell a call. Basically what these guys are telecom consultants. You call them, you say what you need for yourself or your client, and they figure out the best option. They get paid entirely from commissions that come from the internet service providers or the telephone service providers, so you don't pay them anything. Basically, you call them up and you say, hey, I need internet service. They show you what all the options are available, and you pick the one you want. SchoolyMitchell.com. Plixer.com. Plixer deals with NetFlow analytics software. So NetFlow is a component of Cisco equipment that shows you what's going on at the network layer, what devices are talking to what other devices, what kind of network jitter, all of that kind of stuff. So Plixer has a free piece of software called Scrutinizer. Scrutinizer is a free NetFlow network traffic analysis tool. So if you want to play around with NetFlow, if you want to see what's going on with the network layer and you have Cisco equipment, take a look at Plixer.com. Click on the link below this video. It'll bring you to this page where you can download Scrutinizer, the free NetFlow network traffic analysis tool. AddAccess.com. If you're dealing with Active Directory on a large scale, so you have hundreds of users to add, hundreds of users to disable, so on and so forth, you may want to take a look at AddAccess.com. This is Active Directory management and automation software. So this tries to automate and simplify the Active Directory workflow. So if you are in a large scale Active Directory infrastructure, take a look at AddAccess.com. Altero.com, Altaro.com, if you're dealing with virtualization in a Hyper-V environment. So we're talking about Windows Server 2008 R2, 2012, and 2012 R2. Take a look at Altero.com. They have a number of Hyper-V backup solutions. They have the free version, which will back up to 2 VMs for free forever. They also have the unlimited version, starting at only $400 per host. I think this is a very good value. So if you are dealing with Hyper-V virtualization and you need a backup solution, take a look at Altero.com. NerdsWeCanFixThat.com. If you're thinking about starting your own computer services company, but you don't want to have to worry about coming up with a logo and copyright and trademark and all of those kinds of things, you may think about buying into a computer services franchise system. Nerds We Can Fix That is a computer services franchise system. They have 62 franchises throughout the United States. They can franchise in every state other than Hawaii. They also franchise internationally. If you're thinking about starting your own computer services company, you should contact them, fill out the information below, or give them a call. Again, as I will say, franchise systems are great for a lot of people, not so good for others. Always make sure to do your due diligence, but if you're thinking about starting a computer services company anyway, you might as well contact Nerds We Can Fix That to see what they have to say. Veeam.com, Veeam.com. If you just virtualized 100 servers and now you're trying to figure out how to back them up, they have solutions for ESXi, they have solutions for Hyper-V, and as you guys like, they have free stuff. So if you are dealing with a virtualized environment and you're trying to figure out a backup solution, take a look at Veeam.com. Total Seminars, totalsim.com. If you're looking for your A+, your Net+, your Security Plus certification, they have video training, practice test, exam vouchers, and more. If you are on the CompTIA track and you are looking for study prep material, study guides, that type of thing, take a look at Total Seminars, totalsim.com, TOTALSEM.com. Spiceworks.com. These guys have the free network management software, the free mobile device management software, the free community with millions of users. So if you're an IT professional and you need support, Spiceworks is a great place to go. All of their stuff is basically free and just an absolutely great thing. Again, if you have any questions that I don't answer in the show that are technical in nature, we're talking about Active Directory synchronization between sites in remote areas. If you click on the link below this video, that will take you to the Spiceworks community. They have millions of users there that will be able to help you out. So take a look at spiceworks.com. So today's hands-on review is of the AOC Q2963PM ultra-wide monitor. So this is one of those monitors that is like ultra-wide. The idea is kind of skinny but wide. So the interesting part with this is it's 1080 by 2560, and the idea is you can put like multiple documents up on the screen at the same time and be able to view them without taking up a huge chunk of space. So I've got like a 4K display over here, and it's a really big monitor. The idea with these ultra-wide monitors is that they're kind of smaller. So they're you know what I'm saying, they're ultra-wide. So let's go over to the desk and kind of take a look at this thing. So this is the AOC, like I say, what is this? Q2963PM, and it's a long monitor. I mean, look at this. So it's about that wide, but it's only that tall. So this is something that a secretary could put on the desk, and they can actually look over top of it. I know that sounds like a joke, but when I started buying cinema displays, I gave my secretary at the shop a cinema display, and when people walked into the shop, she literally could not look over the top. It was like so big that she had to stand up to look at them. So again, one of those random old things to think about in life. Now, I do have to say for the AOC, this is built very well. So I just did a review of a different AOC, and the other AOC felt like a very inexpensive monitor. This one is obviously a much higher quality feel. So there's metal around the side, the plastic feels stronger. This definitely overall has a look and feel that is much better than the previous AOC that I showed you guys. Now with it, they did do some curious things for how you plug stuff into the monitor. So here you have your DVI, you have your VGA, and you have your DisplayPort connector. But then also underneath you have your MHL HDMI, you have a DisplayPort out, you have the speakers in and out, and you have the power. So one of the weird things they did with this is, again, what I said before about the AOC that I liked with the last one is that you could plug everything in straight through the back. And with this one, they did like the exact opposite. They put stuff all over the place. And then they also put the speakers up here. I don't know. Overall, I found it to be a decent monitor. So it has a good screen. It's an IPS screen on it. So it was pretty good. You definitely can put up to 2 or 3 documents side by side. So if that's your thing, that's pretty nice. The speakers in this actually are really poor though. Again, the curious thing, the last AOC had some amazing speakers on it. These speakers are okay. So overall, playing with this thing, I found it to be, it's an adequate monitor. It didn't really knock my socks off. It wasn't absolutely amazing, but it was a pretty good little thing. Now if we go over to our computer, just to kind of show you, if you go over to AOC's website, you can take a look at this thing. Again, the 2963PM 29-inch LED monitor. You can go in, you can take a look at the features and the specifications and all that kind of stuff. Now the one thing that really threw me for a loop with this guy though is the price. If we go over to newegg.com, I was looking at this thing and I was thinking, it's a nice $250, maybe $300 monitor. Because again, it is built well, don't get me wrong. It is a high quality build. But $379 on sale. Theoretically, they wanted $549 for this thing originally. At least you used to be able to buy an Asus cinema display for like that price. So that's kind of the deal killer right there. I'm not saying it's a bad monitor, but 370, even on sale, $379 seems like a lot of money. Now, one of the things they did with this thing, though, is they did put in some curious features and functionalities. But again, this is kind of one of those, it's like a curious thing. I'm not really sure it's worth $379. So they have that MHL HDMI. What that allows you to do is it allows you to plug in your mobile devices directly into the monitor to play whatever you want to play and be able to control them. So, I mean, that's an interesting feature. I'm not sure it actually use it, though. It is curiosity. It's good to know that it exists, right? The other thing that they did is that you can plug in two different computers. So you can use one side for one computer and one side for the other. So let's say you had two computers on a desk, you could plug that in. Again, that's a really cool technical concept. I mean, for 379 bucks, though, I think I'd just buy two monitors. You know what I'm saying? And then beyond that, one of the interesting things that they can do is you can daisy chain the screens just like you can with Mac Thunderbolt displays. So Mac Thunderbolt displays, you can daisy chain them instead of having to connect them all directly back to the first computer. You can, again, daisy change them. You know what that's talking about. Again, it's another, that is something that's curious, and I guess that might be worthwhile if it's something that you really, really, really need. But again, a lot of this stuff, I mean, it's technical curiosity. I mean, I don't know. You guys can tell me. But yeah, so that's it. Like I say, it's the AOC. Good screen on it, nice and wide. I showed you, 29 inches. 29 inches is a very, very wide screen. Again, has a decent display on it. You can definitely put multiple different screens up there, so it makes a lot of sense. Again, I don't know. I'd pay $250, $300 for it. Again, $250, $300. There's nothing wrong with this system. It was just I just about lost it when it was $379 on sale. I was like, no. So there you go. That is a hands-on review of the AOC Q2963PM. And I do have to say, FCC compliance. They sent me these monitors. I get to play with them, but then I have to ship them back. So AOC is not giving me anything at the end of the day. I get to play with them and then send them back. But I do have to say, getting these monitors, it makes me take a look at AOC. Honestly, they make a lot better equipment than I gave them credit for. I really kind of thought they were pretty crappy equipment until I got these in, but AOC makes, honestly, makes some decent stuff. So yeah, if it's within your price range, if it's what you're willing to pay, I would say definitely take a look at AOC. They make some good stuff. This question comes from Fareed P. Big fan. Many times I've heard you saying technology is as much an art as a science. It sounds nice, but what do you mean by that? Please elaborate, right? So here's the thing, right? I talk about this a lot. When you get into technology, everybody thinks about technology as it's a science. There are right ways to do things and there are wrong ways to do things, and you do it the way you're supposed to do it. And that is exactly what people that are 3 days out of some certification or college program think. There is the way to do it. And what you have to understand about technology is that there is a specific way to do certain things. You have to set the correct IP address for your default gateway, or your client computer is not going to be able to get out to the internet, right? If the default gateway is 192.168.1.1, and you put in 10.1.10.1, it's just not going to work, right? For that thing, it is very, 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 very specific. So there's certain things in the technology world that are absolutely specific. If you don't put in exactly what the system wants, it's just not going to function. But then there is all this art, and that's what people don't realize, right? Is when we go out to start building our systems, when we start going out to building our infrastructure, there's 1,000 ways to build any infrastructure. And what you have to realize is the infrastructure that you're going to end up building will be determined based upon the resources that you have available, right? So if I go in right now and it is 2014 and there's a brand new company, one of these startup companies I talk about, and they've got 20 employees and they're going to do this, that, or the other thing, if I walk into that and they say we need email services and we need to share files and folders and we need to do some of this other stuff. If I walk into that environment, I'm probably going to put them entirely up on the cloud, right? Because they need email services and they need to share files and folders. So they just go up in top of the cloud, right? Or, but imagine if I come in and I come into a business environment where they already have an infrastructure. So let's say it's 10 employees and they've grown to 20. So they need to expand, get more email users, be able to share files and folders better and all that. And I walk in and they already have a small business server set up. So going into that environment, again, basically the same requirements: email, sharing files and folders. But I go in and they already have a small business server. Small business server already has VPN services built into it. It already has Exchange email services built into it. It already has the file and print sharing. So there, I would go and I would buy more what are called client access licenses so those users can connect back. Compare that to, let's say I go out and I start dealing with some doctor's office or something and they need an incredible amount of security, right? So there, they may not be able to do the cloud thing because it wouldn't be HIPAA compliant. They look at the Exchange server, and for whatever reason, they don't want to buy an Exchange server. So for them, you may go and you might build a Linux server and put in a massive amount of encryption onto it. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying this is as much an art as it is a science. The science is you plug in the freaking default gateway that you're told to plug in. The science, the art is when you walk into these environments, what is available? Does this client have $10,000 to spend? Does this client have $100 to spend? Does this client already have an infrastructure? Or are you walking in and you can build whatever the hell you want? That's where it is. We, as technology professionals, need to build the appropriate solution for the clients. We do not need to build the most technical solution. We don't need to build the cheapest solution. We don't need to build all that. We need to build the most appropriate solution for the clients. Again, one of my friends who is a consultant, he got fired once from a lawyer. And the thing was, this was a very high-powered lawyer. This lawyer made a lot of money, and it was very interesting because, again, my friend was not thinking, was not looking at the world from the client's perspective, and so he was allowed to go in and build out this infrastructure. So he bought the switches and the routers and the server and the whole 9 yards, right? And so 6 months later, after he installed it, there was a massive crash. Everything crashed, shut down, and it took about a day to fix. It was pretty normal. It was, the server truly crashed for no reason. That was my friend's fault. It just crashed, and the servers crashed, right? So it was down, it was crashed, and he's there, and he's working his ass off to try to get it back up and running. And then the lawyer walked in and looked at him and said, I don't understand. I paid you a good amount of money in order to build this infrastructure. Why are we down right now? Couldn't we have had some kind of redundancy? Couldn't we have had some kind of resiliency? And then my friend looked up at him and said, well, yeah, if you had spent another $10,000, we could have had, replication and all that kind of redundancy. And the lawyer looked at him and said, well, why didn't we spend the other $10,000? Right? That is the art right there. That client would have very willingly spent that $10,000 versus being down for a day or two. And truth of the story is my friend got fired. He got the server back up and running and then was promptly fired because he was not providing an appropriate solution for his client. He was providing the solution that he from his perspective. So that is what we're talking about with the art and the science of doing IT. So this question comes from Alan M. I just want to know from your perspective as being an IT professional along with an interest in web and software development, what laptops would you recommend? I'm really looking into the Sony Vaio and Dell XPS laptops. Any suggestion or advice would be appreciated. Apple. Have you seen the Macs lately? That would be my first suggestion. So I get a lot of these questions about, what computer should I buy? And I really do have to say, at the end of the day, if you have the budget, if you have the money, to go for an Apple. Again, they are reliable, they are durable, they are good. For return on investment, for being a technician out in the field, they're just an amazing thing. Because one of the things you have to think about, right? one of the things you have to think about when you go out in the field as a technician is you make your money off of your computer working. If you're going to be running scans, if you're going to be pinging the network, you're going to be doing any of that crap that you do with a computer, right? So if you have a Windows computer and it crashes and it dies, well, you're no longer able to do your job. So the thing is with the Mac computers, the nice part with those is, I mean, they really do. They're just beautiful things. I know you guys all think I'm a Mac fanboy, and because right now, 2014, I really am. They're beautiful things. So even if you don't want a MacBook Retina display one, which is like $2,500. Even the MacBook Airs, I mean, are really good. And again, you can use something like a VirtualBox or Parallels or Fusion, install Windows as a virtual machine, and go from there. You can do Windows as a virtual machine and Linux as a virtual machine and all these other virtual machines and be able to use all these different things. So what I would say, truly, honest, nowadays I would say buy a Mac. If you're not going to buy a Mac, if you're not going to buy a Mac, honestly, Lenovo would be the answer. So Lenovo bought IBM's laptop division a long time ago now, right? 10 years. Oh, I'm getting old. 10 years ago, I guess. But the big thing with Lenovo, what everybody was worried about, is IBM made the ThinkPad line of laptops were rocks. I mean, these were just bricks. You know what I'm saying? Like, bricks. If an Apple computer is a piece of marble, I mean, these were just bricks. I mean, they may have not been the prettiest thing in the world, but they were rocks, right? And so the concern was when Lenovo bought the IBM's ThinkPad and laptop division, is that everything would go to crap. Well, the curious thing with Lenovo is basically Lenovo is a Chinese company, and Lenovo is really interested in proving that the Chinese companies can manufacture higher quality equipment. So they didn't want to buy the ThinkPad line and then China price it and make it really crappy. They wanted to buy it and then make sure it was still a really good product. So I really like Lenovo. Lenovo has a lot of really good business practices. The equipment that I've seen, I mean, for the most part, is very good stuff. I would say go out, find a Lenovo laptop that has very good reviews, and then buy it. Again, the problem with all of these laptop manufacturers is they make a zillion different types of laptops. So one laptop might be awesome, and then another laptop that looks exactly like that laptop, but it's slightly different, is a complete piece of crap. So what I would do is I would go out, take a look at Lenovo, find something really good reviews, and buy that. So that would be my thought. Either Apple or Lenovo. Sony, I think Sonys are physically weak. I know a lot of technology professionals that complain with the Sonys. They're just flimsy. They're very good components inside, but they're just physically weak, and they can break fairly easily. And Dell's Dell. Dell's not necessarily a bad thing. I would just personally choose Lenovo. So the final thought for today is religion and business and proselytizing and scripture and all that kind of stuff in the business, in the professional environment whatsoever, right? And how this works out. Generally, what I have found in the real world of technology, in the real world of business, it is best just not to worry about religion whatsoever, right? As soon as you start getting into religious conversations, all of a sudden things can go sideways really quickly. Just, you figure how passionately people care about Apple or Microsoft or Linux, and then you start talking about their gods, and everything just gets really bad. As I've talked about, I think a little bit before, when we start looking at why humans are humans and how humans go about doing things, when you look at science and technology, right? When you look at science and technology give us reasons for why things happen, why the rain falls, why the plant grows, all of that kind of stuff. Religion gives us meaning, right? This is the most basic underpinning of how every individual person sees the world. How they do everything, whether they're Christian or Muslim or Buddhist or Hindu. Their religious philosophy really, it guides them in how they function throughout the rest of life. And so when you start bringing up religion, you're not bringing up a concept that is abstract to the person. You're bringing up a concept that is exceptionally personal to them. And if you don't see eye to eye, it just gets really just icky really quick. I had this when I ran the computer shop in Baltimore. So if you don't know, Baltimore City has a huge Jewish population. I honestly did not know that before I moved into Baltimore City, but apparently, and it's true because a lot of them came to my shop, there is a huge Jewish population in Baltimore City. And it was really interesting, and since my name is Eli, and I guess I kind of look the part, there were a lot of Jewish folks that thought I was Jewish, and it was so weird because they would come into the shop and they'd be like, "Are you Jewish?" And I'd be like, "No." And then there was just that quietness in the conversation as nobody really knows what to do next because they're like, you know what I'm saying? And so it's like whenever you bring up any of these religious topics, especially nowadays, there can just be any number of problems that come from that. You know, people start taking it as a personal attack. When you start discussing things, I mean, I remember that when I used to bother about debating about religion, and I was debating with these two girls one time, and you know, me and this one girl, we were really getting into it about Buddhism versus Christianity, and then the girl that was beside us just started bursting into tears, just like on her knees crying, and it was like, what the hell? We're just having a debate, Christian versus Buddhism. And apparently her mom had died when she was 11 years old, and all of a sudden she starts saying, well, if there's no point to religion or whatever, if there's no God, then why did my mom die? You're just like, oh my golly. And you know what I'm saying? In a business environment, a professional environment, you know, this is just a logic problem here. In a business environment, do you really want to start dealing with why some woman's mom died when she was 11? Oh, hell no. So I know with geekbraindump.com, we just created a rule for that because we had somebody that decided that they were going to start, you know, quoting scripture and all those kind of things. And it's one of those things, if you haven't been there in the real business world, it's just bad. You know what I'm saying? Like practice whatever religion you want. Be devoutly whatever the hell you want to be. But when you get into an environment, the business environment, where it doesn't matter, I would say leave it at home because you would be surprised who is not what you would expect. Again, another conversation I had with a very devout Christian, and I remember he came to me for web design, and then we were talking, and then he put his hand on my knee and went, "I want you to know, I'm a rabid Zionist." I just looked at him, was like, I don't even know what the hell to do with that. You're a rabid Zionist. Okay, well, let's talk about the HTML on your website right now, right? You know, you start going into this whole religious thing, and it gets bad, and people don't know how to take it, and it is nasty. So for geekbraindump.com, we do officially have the rule now. It's good to be king, because when you see things that are going to be bad, what you can do is there's a rule against that, right? And that's what happened. Is we saw these posts go up that had this religious scripture in it. And it was like, no. So we created a rule, no religious stuff on geekbraindump.com. And I would say that is something that you should think about with the rest of your life and when you're going around. Because as soon as you bring up these kind of topics, again, things just go really, really weird, especially in these weird multicultural worlds where we don't really know who it is we're talking to, and people don't act and interact the way that we expect them, and so why bring up these things is what I would say. So that is my thoughts for today. Leave your religion out of the business and the professional world because it will cause issues. I have found this in the past, and again, as I say, on geekbraindump.com, you can write about almost anything in technology and business. Just leave the scripture at home, because I'm telling you, again, even being Eli the computer guy, I mean, oh my golly, I have Muslims praying for my soul, and I have Christians praying for my soul, and I have pagans, and you know, it's weird. It's like all that. It's just like, just leave religion at home. I swear to you, it's just going to be better for everybody, including yourself at the end of the day. So our latest project over here in the Eli the Computer Guy Geek Brain Dump universe is now Geek Web Proxy. So if you go to geekwebproxy.com, you will see our official beta test of a Geek Web Proxy server. So for the class that I did today, I set this thing up, and now this officially works. So it's sitting on its own little dedicated server in Scottsdale, Arizona. So theoretically, if you're anywhere in the world, you should be able to use it and go and see all the things you want to see, and it will be as if you are in the United States. So if we just type type in youtube.com here, we will see that it clicks on by and that it loads up actually relatively quickly. Now, I will warn you, if you're going to be using Geek Web Proxy, that if you're going to be watching any videos, only videos that are not like copyright protected will show up. So like any videos that I have done or any videos that normal YouTubers have done should work pretty well on here. Things like from Vivo, though, any of this more professional stuff may not show up because there's this whole, copyright infringement, blah, blah, blah. But basically, this is it. This is Geek Web Proxy, and it really is up, and it really is live. And if I use whatismyip.com, I can show you, again, like I say, it'll pop up and it'll show us that we have the IP address for being in Scottsdale, Arizona. Again, when you are using this thing, this is still in beta test, so there are some weird quirks. But overall, go out there, play with it, see how much you like it. And if you guys like it a lot, I will improve the service. And frankly, if nobody uses it, I will kill the service. So it all depends on what you guys decide to do. But again, geekwebproxy.com.